Of the Center for Constitutional Governance says the manner in which Sewanyana was arrested revealed a lot of weaknesses in the judiciary.
It's judiciary to redeem itself. If judiciary allows executive to continuously abuse them, abuse their power, abuse their decisions, it's a betrayal to the people. It's a betrayal of failure to protect Article 126 of the Constitution that provides for independence of the judiciary.
Mwenda Nkunyinji, the Chadondo East Member of Parliament and Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, also spoke against yesterday's incident. He says laws should be respected.
Rearresting them as it happened for Honorable Sewanyana, as they exit the prison centers, is questionable. One, within the law, you can only do it if a person has to be charged with another offense. But even the way and the circumstances, if you want to charge a person of another offense, these are members of Parliament. Or you can summon them again through Parliament. Secondly, they already have running charges before court. You can just add on the charges if they are new charges. But arresting them as if it's a kidnap, as if it's a kidnap, leaves a lot of questions for security agencies to answer, and maybe from their answers we shall make a conclusion. Otherwise, it's unknown it's unknown and not provided for within our laws that a person released should be arrested.
The Army spokesperson, Brigadier Flavia Biekwaso, today confirmed the arrest of Alan Sewanyana.
He was rearrested after fresh investigation indicating new offences that were not part of the original charge sheet. So the security forces had, for that reason, they had to have him rearrested such that they could take him for further questioning and recording, I think, another statement of something of that nature.
Biekwaso confirms that he has been held at Special Investigations Branch.
He's being held at the Special Investigations Branch, Police Special Investigations Branch in Kireka.
The arrest of the Member of Parliament has left many Ugandans critiquing and questioning the laws regarding human rights and the judiciary system. Eve Masawi for CTV, PM Edition.
Still circulating around the same matter, the rearrest of Machinde West Member of Parliament Alan Sewanyana is taking the stock of mainstream talk. The opposition march in displeasure. Today, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, the president of the National Unity Platform, has spoken against this. In his words, statelessness involved in the capture of his member. We have the details.
The news of the rearrest of the Machinde West lawmaker Alan Sewanyana spread out last evening like wildfire on social media. Although Sewanyana's lawyers had managed to secure his release on bail, he did not enjoy his freedom. Soon after, he was arrested again by security personnel outside the gate of Chigo prison. This morning, the president of the National Unity Platform Party and former presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, also known as Bobi Wine, condemned the manner in which the legislator was arrested, calling it outright lawlessness.
Honorable Sewanyana was released but immediately abducted. Up to now, we are yet to know where exactly he is. This should speak to us about the unlawfulness of the Museveni regime. We saw this happen 16 years ago when the Black Mambas abducted freed prisoners.
Yesterday, Muhammad Segirinya failed to secure his release because one of his sureties, the Mityana Municipality MP Francis Zake, had traveled to the United States of America. Bobi Wine says all this is being done unconstitutionally.
The brutal and illegal rearrest, or rather abduction of the Honorable Alan Sewanyana further speaks that even if Segirinya was released, he would also be abducted, because the Honorable Sewanyana was released and abducted immediately. That shows that even Segirinya would have faced the same fate.
On the recent presidential address on COVID-19 by President Yoweri Museveni, NUP have responded by condemning the continued closure of schools.
We should remember that we are the only country in the region that has schools closed. The numbers of teenagers getting pregnant are skyrocketing. We also, Museveni, come out to assert that it's okay for our young children to be impregnated, to get pregnant, for as long as they've not died.
The National Unity Platform mover and shaker also clarified on his failure to go to the United States of America for a political conference.
It's a U.S. policy that people that have been in South Africa in the period of 14 days could not access the United States. So with that information, I decided to discontinue my trip to the U.S. and I returned here. However, I want to inform our colleagues all over the world that the activities in the United States actually are continuing. Many of our fellow leaders have made the trip, those that have not been to South Africa, and I will personally be making the trip when these days are over, the 14 days.
Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu also commented on the recent spate of killings in Masaka.
And indeed, Kaindo Tafire said it, that if Masaka voted for them, it would be a different thing, as if to conclude that, they are punishing them for not voting Museveni and NRM.
As the National Unity Platform, they have vowed to continue fighting against injustice and mistreatment of members of the opposition. Suhail Mugabi, CTV, PM Edition.
We now extend the conversation, consuming much of public conversation. Joining me now is Adams Mayambala, who speaks to the National Unity Platform President, Robert Kyagulanyi, to expand more on the matters affecting the state. Adams, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Bernadette, and to the viewers, PM viewers. Thank you so much. I'm joined by the NUP President, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, commonly known as Bobby Wine, and we are here to discuss a number of issues. I'm pleasure to have you here, Mr. President.
Pleasure to be with you, my brother.
How are you?
I'm alive. Thank
You're alive?
you. Yeah.
Alive but okay, not fine?
Well, for as long as I'm alive, everything else is secondary. Yeah.
And I welcome you to CTV.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here. Good evening, viewers.
First and foremost, let's talk about what is happening in the country. Yesterday, there was a scene at Chigo Prison. One of your MPs of NUP was recaptured after he was given bail to walk home. And another one, Segirinya, is still rotting in prison. What's your take on that?
Well, Ugandans should be reminded that this has been happening for the longest time. This has been happening, the illegality has been happening since these rebels took over our country in 1986. This is not new. It happened as far as 16 years back ago when the Black Mambas raided court and got the Dr. Besigye supporters, got them into unknown places. It is happening again now, without quoting any law, with utter shame, with impunity. They are doing what they've been doing all along. It's only that the cameras see it more now than before, but it has been happening. Yeah.
Robert, Segirinya is also still in prison.
Yes.
And these things have been happening, and the president came out and spoke about it. The president spoke about violation of human rights and all that. What are your thoughts on that when such things are still happening?
It speaks of the double standards of the Museveni regime. It speaks of the hypocrisy of Museveni, the person. This is supposed to show us Museveni, the man. He will say one thing and do the opposite, with the entire world seeing. We saw him pretending on TV to be respecting human rights, but you all saw him when he came out and said bail is not a constitutional right. What a shame. This is a person that purports to be the president of the nation, but does not even respect the Constitution. Article 28(3) provides to the, that a person would be presumed innocent until they plead guilty or until they're found guilty. And also Article 23(6) also guarantees bail as a constitutional right. General Museveni is saying bail is not a constitutional right. I am here because I'm out on bail on treason. So it further shows us that Museveni believes that he is the law himself. Yeah.
Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, so what are you going to do as the NUP president, or what are you doing to make sure that all this is normal?
The question is not what are we going to do as NUP. This country does not only belong to NUP. This country does not only belong to Kyagulanyi. This country belongs to you, belongs to every Ugandan. Question should be, what are we going to do as Ugandans to see that we enjoy our rights, to see that we live within the law, to see that the Constitution, which has a preamble that mentions all the mess that our country has been through and recognizes it and pledges to ensure that nothing of the sort happens in the future. Unfortunately, this is exactly what's happening. So what are we going to do as a nation, as a people, as a population, not just NUP? This is a duty for all of us. I will tell you that this illegality does not only affect NUP, it affects all citizens, and it affects even all those that are in government as well. So this mess is a concern for all citizens of Uganda.
So do you have to pursue the law? What exactly are you talking about? Like, we Ugandans, what are you talking about?
We Ugandans must rise to the occasion and put an end to the dictatorial tendencies of General Museveni. We Ugandans must rise up and free ourselves and return the rule of law and return to constitutional order, because we are certainly not, being ruled under the law. This is ruled by law. So we have to rise to the occasion and put an end to the dictatorship. The problem of Uganda is General Museveni, because he does not respect the law. He does not respect anybody's rights. What he thinks or what he dreams at night is what he wants to do during the day. And unfortunately, he gets away with it because just a few of us raise our voices. It is a question of everybody rising to the occasion to put an end to this.
Honorable Kyagulanyi, we've been through election, and you yourself participated in the elections, and you lost. Do you consider the defeat that you lost?
I did not lose. You saw as much as I saw it. I mean, you are in the media. You know you were not allowed to even perform your duty as a journalist. You know that your TV and radio stations were cut off. You know that power was cut off. You know that the internet blacked out. You know that the military took over the election. So you cannot say I lost. You know, the people of Uganda went out to the polls and they cast their polls. But General Museveni, using impunity like he has been doing so, declared himself winner. And now, once again, I tell you that we as Ugandans are on our own, and it's going to take us, all of us, to put an end to this.
So if not the elections, then what avenue do we have? What avenue does Uganda have to change the regime?
Yeah, the first avenue, of course, was the election, because that's the provided legal avenue of changing power. But again, the Constitution also provides that when the Constitution is being overthrown or abrogated or disrespected or undermined, it is the duty of every Ugandan. Ugandans must rise to make sure that they restore constitutional order. There's no constitutional order because the Constitution provides for the right to bail. We see not ordinary citizens, but members of parliament being abducted on the doors of the prisons, and they're taken to unknown places. So it is upon us to use all available means of to restore constitutional order.
When you speak about all available means, what does the Ugandan get out of it?
Whatever the Ugandan wants to get out of it. Even you, whatever you want to get out of it. At least I've told you that we must use all available means. I must assert that we as NUP believe in non-violence. We believe in constitutional and legal means. So I'm telling you that we must use all legal means, especially those that are non-violent. We as NUP, I'm not limiting anybody else, because there comes a time when we must free and use any means necessary.
Is there a mean that is non-violent and not elections?
Oh yeah. Do you think the Sudanese were violent? They were non-violent. They removed a dictator called Omar el-Bashir, one of Museveni's best friends. They you know, the Egyptians, they were non-violent. They removed a dictator called, you know, Hosni Mubarak. The Tunisians were non-violent. The people from Burkina Faso were non-violent. So non-violence works, and it kicks away dictators. Yeah.
Mr. President, as your supporters call you, speaking about the
as
status
Ugandans
quo,
call me.
as Ugandans,
Yeah.
Okay, speaking about the status quo of the country, the recent massacres in Masaka, the opposition has been implicated into this. What's your take on that? Is it the president came out and said it's political, it's from the opposition, and you seem to be the head of the opposition because you're the man there. So, what's your take on this?
Why am I not arrested then?
2 of your MPs have been
I
arrested.
think this is done by the regime. You had the general, what's his name? Kaindo Tafire. He said it some time ago in Bushenyi when they were burying Adonia Tiberondwa. He said it was their trick. It was their tactic as the NRA rebels. They would put on UPC uniform, go kill people, and then make sure that the people blame the UPC government, thereby hating it and detesting it.
So this time around,
they have not been held accountable for those mass murders, but they were killing people. And the same Museveni recently said they are going to return to the NRA tactics. These tactics, we know them as NRA tactics. And I want you to remember that since time immemorial, every time Museveni is defeated in an election, but in a particular area, that area faces violence. We saw it in Gulu, in Acholi land, we saw it in Kasese, and now we're seeing it in Buganda, particularly in Masaka. So to see that the same Otafire came out again to claim that, you know, when NRM was winning in Masaka, people were not dying. But now that NRM lost, people are dying, as if to justify the killing, as if to say they are punishing the people of Buganda and the people of Masaka in particular for not voting for NRM. You know, that speaks volumes. So
what do we have to do about it? Because it's happening. People, innocent people are dying in Masaka.
Now, you know that the people that we pay to protect us are actually criminals. They are using people's and taxes to oppress them. You've seen drones flying everywhere, you know. If I step foot in Masaka, you'll see an entire battalion deployed in Masaka. How do you then tell me that a government that has capability of hunting down political opponents from the deepest corners of the country and abducting them has no ability to hunt down machete-wielding thugs if they are not the ones, you know, sending them to kill our people? Remember that some years ago, Kaihura, who was the Inspector General of Police, paraded the same people for the same crimes. And then the boys who were paraded actually said that it's the police that sends them to carry out those atrocities. How then do you tell me it is not the Museveni regime that is doing that? This is an open secret.
Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, as we are winding up,
yes.
Do you see yourself on a ballot paper the next election year?
That is very irrelevant. That is as if you are telling us to forget about now. You're telling us to think about 4 years, 5 years from now. We have now to sort out. I won the election. I'm supposed to be the legitimate president. Yeah? But now, it's as if you're trying to tell us to sweep that under the carpet. And it's too big to be swept under the carpet. So we have now to sort out. You know, we have an illegitimate government that is ruling over people, robbing the nation, you know, looting everything that they can land their hands on, and also abusing the rights of the people while their leader purports to be defending rights. So we have a now to sort out before we go to tomorrow.
Honorable Kyagulanyi, lastly, have you met the President Museveni? Have you ever met him?
Why would
Like
I
in
meet?
person?
Why would I meet General Museveni?
He's the president of Uganda.
No, he's not the president of Uganda. I am. Ask him, has he met me?
Okay, if probably if he could tell you, come and work in my government, because you have that that sense of the youth, you know the problems of the youth. Could you help out to help Ugandans?
Let me tell you something. The issue at hand right now is not an issue between me and General Museveni. No, it's an issue of Ugandans. What Ugandans say according to the law is what is supposed to reign supreme. Then why do we reduce an issue of 45 million Ugandans to only 2 people? And again, I'll tell you that not that I despise dialogue, but dialogue with Museveni has been dialogue of co-optation. You know, what do you want? How much do you want? And that's not what I believe in. I believe in, you know, doing what's right and being accountable to people. Sure.
Mr. President, lastly, what the words to your supporters? What are you planning in the near future?
I want to tell Ugandans that everything that's going to change your life is supposed to have your involvement there. Of course, I'm thankful to the brothers and sisters that have risen to the occasion and spoke out, the artists, the civil society, the ordinary Ugandans, and the leaders, the politicians that have stood with the people. I salute you so much. Those here in Uganda and those in the diaspora. I want you to know, fellow Ugandans, that we are on our own. You cannot leave this matter to Parliament. You cannot leave it to the courts of law. You cannot even leave it just to the politicians. It's everybody, whether you are doctor or lawyer, student, teacher, educated, uneducated. You have to raise the conscience in your own, you know, surroundings, in your community. Let each one teach one. Let each one of us make sure that we add a brick. We add, you know, a brick of building our liberty, our democracy. It's not going to be a Kyagulanyi thing alone. This is not about me alone. I'm just one Ugandan that's playing my role. You can play your role too. We all can play our roles.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi.
Thank you very much.
The NUP president. A lot of titles there. And before I forget, you say happy belated birthday to Mama Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Bernadette Opio. That was the NUP president. I can't say any word further than that. You've heard everything from the horse's mouth.
Thank you so much, Adams, for that interview. Well, you have heard it there, ever so bold and ever so assertive. That was Adams Wayambala speaking to the National Unity Platform President, Robert Kyagulanyi. We do move on. The former principal accountant in the office of the Prime Minister, Geoffrey Kazinda, has today been sentenced to 40 years in prison with a raft of charges. Among these are forgery, causing financial loss and conspiracy, respectively. Presiding over the verdict, Justice Margaret Tibulwa ordered Kazinda to pay damages amounting to 19 billion shillings. Kazinda will also not hold public office for a period of 10 years, beginning today, September the 24th. Kazinda has spent 9 years in court facing trial for constructive possession of financial instruments, forging receipts and invoices, false accounting, making fraudulent payments, conspiracy to secure money outside authorized disbursement procedures, and living a standard life beyond his known source of income. The trials started in 2012 in various courts. Now, the IGP, Martin Okoth-Ochola, has today appeared in the public after a while. And according to Dr. Moses Biaruhanga, the public should not expect him to appear every now and then because that's not his daily work routine.
Of late, social media has been awash with the rumors of how Inspector of Police Martin Okoth-Ochola has been very ill and hospitalized. Rumors that were later dispelled by the spokesperson of the Uganda Police. Today, the IGP made his first public appearance in a while at the police headquarters in Naguru, where he went to launch the annual general meeting for the Directorate of Health Services. While appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Defence, the Director of Health Services in the Uganda Police, Dr. Moses Biaruhanga, revealed to members of the committee that IGP was facing some bit of illness. However, the appearance of the IGP today is a confirmation that he is indeed not bedridden. Dr. Biaruhanga urged the public to maintain discipline and not to spread baseless rumors.
He categorically stated that every person has his or her own management style. But what I think the people were used to the previous management style of the former Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kayihura, where he was almost all the time in the field. Now with this new leadership, for him, his style is different. He calls us for meetings, he gives us instructions, we discuss, then he says, Director Health Services will do this, Director CID will do this, Logistics will do this. then he goes on to other activities.
The IGP, who has been away from the spotlight, also missed the burial of his deputy, the late Paul Okech, last month, with rumors pointing to sickness. While launching the annual general meeting, Dr. Byaruhanga presented challenges and achievements which later the IGP responded to.
Lack of a police or the referral hospital. But good enough, sir, you gave me a chance some time back to present to PAC a concept which was approved, and it is one of the major priorities of police in this financial year.
We take serious note of the challenges faced in the execution of your duties, but promise that we shall continue putting in place measures to ensure that you have the necessary protective equipment needed to perform your tasks, remain safe and stay alive.
Flavia Ninkuze, CTV, PM Edition.
Thank you, Flavia, for that story. PM Edition takes a very short break. We return with more.
On the outskirts of Ndibulungi village lies an interesting police station.
Yes. It's okay. Now, this is in Ndibulungi police station. Do what you want, I'm in charge.
There is no limit to the number of trivial cases that fall on Afande Chirabucha Maria's desk.
To make me happy, yeah? No, please. I want to see alone, not with others.
In one of the cells is a full-time notorious murderer, Siri Vawano.
The
delusional OC Afande Mugume with his right-hand man, Muliowa, Mr. Ladies Wine.
Do you know that I'm the head of this police station? Do you know that?
Yes.
I'm the chachi.
Muchope, a devious hustler.
Muchope.
With deceit spread all over the police station, prepare to be blown away by this never-ending joyride of rib-cracking laughter.
Are you the Mzungu?
Yeah, I'm the Mzungu from America.
Sharifa?
No, I'm not Sharifa.
Jinjeri
Bulungi Minari.
Ndibulungi.
Coming soon on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back. Thank you for not blinking. You're still watching PM Edition. Now, the deaf cover 1.8 million of Uganda's population, but still suffer discrimination according to stakeholders. The group now says the pandemic has worsened their plight. We have more.
At the Uganda Deaf Society, persons with disabilities are honed in life skills, a community that thrives through healthy competition. Tembo Zemberi is an instructor at the training school. With students still tied at home, he had resorted to carpentry to earn a living.
Through COVID-19 really affected us so much in that schools have been closed for a long time, and as the teachers are actually really hard up for money. That's why you see now we are trying to do something in the workshops, because even the rent is really, the landlords are up to our neck. It's been a long holiday whereby we are not receiving any salary.
He says the government has not made an effort to put in place standard operating procedures.
For instance, of course, that is the way the deaf do communicate, because when you do put on a mask, you won't be able to see. I think the most effective way is for the deaf would be social distancing. But, you know, that is the deaf culture. You really have to be, you really have to see what the deaf is signing, and the mouth is very important. It plays a big role.
His counterpart says such initiatives have offered him survival.
All parents to bring those children to school, because if my parents never brought me to school, that means anything I am today wouldn't have been possible. But now I got a job, and here I am working, and I'm living a good life.
Grace Kusasira, a teacher, has remodeled herself into a shop attendant due to the pandemic. She says when the schools reopen, it will be a challenge to train the sign language to students.
Hearing students are learning on TV, on radio, but the deaf are not, are not having that opportunity. And I'm worried that they might deteriorate, like what they learned is all going to evaporate.
The State Minister for Disability Affairs, Helen Asamo, while addressing the press, outlined the setbacks that needed attention.
The importance of accessing and using sign language in communication for the deaf persons as their right. Because without sign language members, the deaf community will never get the message. It also emphasizes the need to have the access of information by deaf persons through sign language. This therefore means that there is need to promote sign language through awareness raising.
Alex Ndezi, the deaf representative in Parliament, challenges the government for neglect.
I am requesting government, if possible, to help us and open up the schools as soon as possible, because home learning is the hardest thing that we can achieve.
This as the community marks the Deaf Awareness Day every 24th of September. Uganda today joined the rest of the world to commemorate the International Deaf Awareness Day in Arua District with the theme Celebrating Thriving Deaf Communities with Sign for Human Rights. Here at the Uganda Society for the Deaf, the disabled children are able to attain theory, and after they have a hands-on training which helps them to get employment opportunities, resulting into them earning income that helps them in their day-to-day activities. You that is not disabled, what can you do? Lucky Atari Binjira, CTV, PM edition.
Thank you, Lucky, for that story. The electoral petition case against Busiro North Member of Parliament Paul Nsubuga has been ruled in his favor. Nsubuga's academic documents had been contested against.
That the first respondent.
It was a tense feeling that kept people on the edges of their seats at the High Court in Kampala as a handful of people waited to hear the ruling from Lady Justice Wilfred Nabisinde in a case that was filed by a former independent candidate, Edgar Lubade, challenging the victory of Paul Nsubuga for the Busiro North constituency seat. Lubade, who managed to garner 199 votes to the 21,401 votes from Nsubuga, was challenging Paul Nsubuga's academic qualifications, citing inconsistencies. Without wasting any time, Lady Justice Wilfred Nabisinde read the ruling of court in which she dismissed the petition against Paul Nsubuga, citing insufficient evidence.
The petitioner has failed to prove to this court any of the grounds alleged in the petition, and has failed to show that there is another person claiming the academic documents possessed by the first respondent.
The High Court also issued 2 certificates to the respondent and ordered that Lubade should pay the Busiro North Member of Parliament full compensation and damages.
Full costs awarded to the first and second respondents in this petition. 2 certificates are hereby awarded to counsel to the second respondent.
This case has had an emotional toll on Paul Nsubuga, and at one point, his mother, Agnes Nabawanuka, was summoned and cross-examined in court over the paternity of the legislator. In his address to journalists, Nsubuga vowed to make his opponent pay for the embarrassment he has had to endure throughout the trial.
So what we are going to do, we are going to sit with my legal team and we evaluate. Out of the evaluation, it will actually show us how much they are supposed to pay back, because just they have always spent our money.
Edgar Lubade, however, expressed his disappointment with the ruling and hinted on a possible appeal.
It is a constitutional right for me either to appeal or to not to appeal. So it will be my decision. However, I'm going to talk to my councils for the same and see what we are going to do next.
The High Court in August started hearing over 100 election petitions filed by different politicians in a bid to expedite justice and to reduce the issue of case backlog. Bernadette Apio for CTV PM Edition. Away from the local scene, the group that has been abducting students in Nigeria has been held, while in Mali, the Transitional Council has passed a landmark bill. Details in this regional file.
3 people suspected of abducting more than 100 students from a Christian school in northwestern Nigeria 2 months ago have been arrested. On July 5th, gunmen invaded the Bethel Baptist Secondary School on the outskirts of Kaduna and abducted 121 students who were sleeping in their rooms. Since 5th July, 100 students have been released or have managed to escape, while 21 remain in the hands of their captors. Mali's National Transitional Council passed a bill on Thursday to create a war college. The CNT, which acts as a legislative assembly during the transition period, voted to create the school to strengthen the country's national security arsenal. The EGM Mali War College will provide high-level training for senior officers of the defense and security forces. It will also be a place for research on defense and security strategies in collaboration